This is a story about one of the greatest human beings to ever grace our humble planet, Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa firmly stood behind many Catholic social teachings throughout her life, predominantly the care for and dignity behind every human life. The Catholic Church states that every life has dignity bestowed upon them by God from the moment they are conceived until natural death. Mother Teresa honored every life she touched with this divine dignity. This principle, among others, is the foundation for all Catholic social teachings. What are Catholic social teachings? Who is Mother Teresa? How did her life impact humanity? How did a Catholic nun get awarded a Nobel Peace Prize? How did her life lead to one of the biggest outpourings of love the world has ever seen? Let's get into it. Let us first define the basics of Catholic social teaching. Catholic social teaching is defined by 7 basic principles. 1. Life and dignity of the human person. 2. Solidarity. 3. Care for God's creation. 4. Call to family, community, and participation. 5. Option for the poor and vulnerable. 6. Rights and responsibilities. 7. Dignity of work and rights of workers. If any one person in our world has ever personified all of these principles, it is Mother Teresa. She is considered to be one of the 20th century's greatest humanitarians. So let's go into a little bit of the history of this great woman. It will then become evident how she embodied every single one of these values. Mother Teresa was born Agnes Gonia Boyaci, Gonia meaning rosebud or little flower. She was born in 1910 in Skopje, which is the current capital of Macedonia. After the sudden death of her father in 1919, Agnes became very close with her mother. It was her mother who instilled the deep commitment to charity in the young girl, and by age 12 she was convinced she should devote her life to God. Her mother telling her, "My child, never eat a single mouthful unless you are sharing it with others." At age 18, she left home, traveled to Ireland where she then joined the Sisters of Loreto. It was with the sisters that she took on the name Sister Mary Teresa after Saint Therese of Lisieux. With dreams of missionary work, she trained in Ireland and was then sent to India to carry on God's work. It was there in India that she took initial vows to become a nun officially in 1931. She taught for 7 years at the St. Mary's High School for Girls in Calcutta, a school run by the Sisters of Loreto. The school educated the city's poorest Bengali families. It was there Sister Mary Teresa learned to speak fluent Bengali and Hindi while trying to improve the girls' poverty through education. In 1937, she took her final profession of vows to a life of poverty, chastity, and obedience and became Mother Teresa. She continued to teach and eventually became the principal of the school in 1944. The abject poverty and suffering she witnessed outside the convent led to her call within a call. While on a train in the Himalayas, she heard Christ speak to her. He told her to abandon her teachings and work in the slums of Calcutta, serving the city's poorest and sickest people. Her vow of obedience forced her to seek permission to leave the school and redevote her life to the caring for the poorest of Calcutta's poor. It was in 1948 when she finally received her approval to pursue her new calling. It was then she chose to don the iconic blue and white sari she is known for. Mother Teresa actually chose the blue-bordered sari over green or red as she associated the blue with Mother Mary as it stands for purity. Interestingly, the Missionaries of Charity trademarked her famous sari in 2016 to combat any misuses. Believe it or not, other organizations would use its likeness without permission as uniform only to tarnish her reputation. In 1950, she was given permission from the Holy See to found the Missionaries of Charity, to be stationed in Calcutta, India, in one of the poorest areas in the world. She continued to live a life of service to the vulnerable and those most in need. The primary goal of the order was to help the people that no one else wanted to help, to love, and to serve. When Jesus was on earth, his main goal was to love and serve his fellow man. Mother Teresa saw this as an opportunity to follow in the footsteps of Christ, the one she had sworn her life to with her vows. Her words were that it would care for the hungry, the naked, the homeless, the crippled, the blind, the lepers, all those people who feel unwanted, unloved, uncared for throughout society, people that have become a burden to the society and are shunned by everyone. With help from Calcutta officials in 1952, her first official location recognizing human dignity was opening up a hospice for the sick and dying. She cared for the people who had nowhere else to go. She named it Kaligat, the home of the pure heart. Many people criticized the home for not being properly equipped to handle the sick and dying, but Mother Teresa knew this was not meant to be a hospital or anything of actual medical grade. It was to ensure that the people had a loving place to live out their last moments with dignity. A beautiful death, Teresa said, is for people who lived like animals to die like angels, loved and wanted. With the opening up of this home, she was providing options for the poor and needy. This sole act encompasses several tenets of Catholic social teaching: life and dignity, caring for God's creation, and options for the poor and needy. With our current society so focused on wealth and being at the top of the food chain, Mother Teresa showed a true love and compassion for those who were looked down upon by humanity. Mother Teresa also showed how to do solidarity properly. She ate with the poor, slept like the poor, and dressed like the poor. To show respect for the Indian culture, she adopted the traditional sari with her habit for the order. Mother Teresa did not boast, brag, or seek profit. It was against her belief and character to do so. In today's me-first, social media, fast-paced, profit-based society, people are very focused on looking at and bragging about what I have, what I've done, who I am helping. Many people are attempting to do charitable things for all the wrong reasons. Matthew 6:3. But when you give to the needy, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. Loosely interpreted meaning, do a good deed for the sake of doing it, not to be boastful and or do it for praise or profit. Over the course of the 1950s and 1960s, Mother Teresa's charitable actions expanded exponentially. She established an orphanage, a leper colony, nursing home, family clinic, and a chain of mobile health clinics. Pope Paul VI gave the decree of praise upon the missionaries of charity that prompted Mother Teresa to expand internationally. Starting in 1980 and continuing through the 1990s, Mother Teresa opened houses in almost all of the communist countries, including the former Soviet Union, Albania, and Cuba. By 1997, her original 13-member Calcutta congregation had grown to more than 4,000 sisters who managed orphanages, AIDS hospices, and charity centers worldwide, caring for refugees, blind, disabled, aged, alcoholics, the poor and homeless, and victims of floods, epidemics, and famine. She received countless accolades from India, Asia, the Vatican, and numerous other countries and organizations throughout the world. Not seeking any personal gain, she donated all proceeds to her orders and foundations. Perhaps second most famous of her awards was the Nobel Peace Prize in 1979. Rather than the lavish ceremony and banquet that accompanies the Peace Prize, she requested that the money be given to the poor in India. This exemplifies the selflessness she exhibited throughout her entire life. In the later stages of her life, Mother Teresa suffered several health-related issues. The first, a heart attack in 1983 while visiting the Pope in Rome. She suffered a second 6 years later and had a pacemaker installed. A little-known fact about Mother Teresa, she actually had an exorcism performed on her, with her permission, of course. The Archbishop of Calcutta, Archbishop Henry de Souza, had a priest perform an exorcism on her as he felt she may have been under attack by the devil while hospitalized for heart-related issues. Mother Teresa passed on September 5, 1997, only months after she resigned as head of the Missionaries of Charity. At the time of her death, the Missionaries of Charity were more than 4,000, with 610 foundations in 123 countries around the world. To commemorate the 100th anniversary of her birth, the Indian government issued a 5 rupee coin, the amount of money Teresa had when she arrived in India, on August 28, 2010. Her most famous and divine honor came posthumously. In 2016, Pope Francis canonized her. She was now officially recognized as a saint, something that most of the world had known for decades. Mother Teresa showed care, pity, love, and compassion for God's creations in lifting up the spirit within humanity. It is paramount to remember God's social teaching by caring for his most beloved and important creation, each other. Mother Teresa recited a daily prayer. By doing so, she reminds us that Christians must act as Christ did, so that others may not only hear his words, but may see him in everything we do. Dear Jesus, help me to spread thy fragrance everywhere I go. Flood my soul with thy spirit and love. Penetrate and possess my whole being so utterly that all my life may only be a radiance of thine. Shine through me and be so in me that every soul I come in contact with may feel thy presence in my soul. Let them look up and see no longer me, but only Jesus. Stay with me, and then I shall begin to shine as you shine, so to shine as to be a light to others. Amen. Amen indeed.